All right. So I will begin with a simple question. I ask this question to everybody, and the question is to both of you. So I want you to answer individually. But it's a simple question, but sometimes it can be difficult to answer. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Right. So first, I'm going to start with, who is Angela Davis?
Oh, that is a difficult question. I had to answer right now.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Angela Davis is a woman on a mission to make her change by using her gifts. I'm ready to give my gifts to the world, and that's what I am right now. I'm a giver of my gifts, and I'm ready.
Okay. And who is LaToya Turner?
LaToya Turner is a person who's passionate about making a change and a difference in the world. LaToya is dedicated to passionate work. And I'm a mother. I'm a mother with doing all of this.
Okay. Awesome. So within the realm of TV and film, you both are screenwriters and you both are producers, correct?
Yes, and we're newbies at this, so yes, we're new
Okay,
to this.
good.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Being that you're newbies to this, I want to ask you both, how did you get into screenwriting?
Okay, I can start. So for the past 25 years, I've been writing and directing gospel stage plays. Well, the pandemic really put that to a halt. And so we couldn't do stage plays, but there was still content. There were still things that we wanted to get out there. And so I was challenged to put together some mini documentaries, everything that we could do virtually. And so in 2021, I released 4 mini documentaries, Black history related. I'm a self-proclaimed Black history girl, Black history nerd. And so I put together 4 mini documentaries, worked with a filmmaker out of New York. And so everything was done virtually. And we put together 4 really good projects. And so that's what kind of made me say, wait a minute, there's something to this. But I still went back to, when the world opened back up, I went back to stage plays. But then last year, we were ready and it was about to be amazing. And 2 of my main actors, one was in the hospital with pneumonia and the other one had bronchitis the week before the production. And so that
Mm,
kind of guy was kind of like, okay, you still want to do these live productions, but I have something else for you. So that was my last stage play. And I was like, okay, let me take a jump into the film world like I did in 2021 and really see really how to tackle this. So that's kind of how I've jumped my feet into the film world.
okay, and LaToya?
So I'm definitely a newbie at this. So my children's book, which is here, is Brown Hands, Black Schools, HBCUs. So when the idea was presented to me, I was like, you should turn your book into animation. Honestly, I didn't know anything. I've never been in film. Like, I know everything about publishing a book and so forth. So for me, I just got to write in. Like, I just got to write in, change a few things that was in the book. And as the process was going on, I just found myself like, you know what? I'm a filmmaker. Like, in the process, like, I'm a filmmaker. So even just taking that role and owning it, but yeah, the idea was presented to me. So I just started doing my research. Honestly, I started doing my research, and this was all this year, like in February.
Wow.
So self-taught. I just kind of started teaching myself of the roles and responsibilities. And then Angela was right there helping and guiding as well.
Well, let me ask you both, and either one of you can answer this. How did the two of you meet?
So the beautiful thing about LaToya and I, we actually graduated from the same historically Black college or university, Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. Nice little plug. So we met there, but we were there like 10 years apart. We weren't in school together. But if you know anything about HBCUs, the bond is magical. And so it doesn't
Right.
matter if you walk the yard at the same time or not, there's a connection. And so when I saw Toya a couple years ago promoting her children's book, in a lot of our HBCU circles, I was like, this girl is on fire. And so I kind of took it upon myself to help her promote the book amongst alumni circles because I hold a position, the vice president of alumni chapter. So I was like, I'm going to help her promote this book because it's about HBCUs and it's for kids and this is awesome. So once I saw her starting to turn it into a film. And she announced that she was taking this leap. And I knew that I had experience in doing so. I slid on up in her DM, say, sis, let's do this together. I got you. So that's kind of really how it started.
Yeah, and then we were meeting virtually. It started like first I was like the project at first, 'cause I started in February, but once Angela came on board, it was like it got the speed of it really, really fast because I was, I was just in the process of all of it. But we just like recently, like months ago, like met in person, but you have never have thought that. So yeah, there is an age gap with us, and we wasn't on the yard at the same time, but she literally just jumped in and assisted. Because like I said, I was new to this film world. And just even now, like to say like I'm a filmmaker, like that's something new for me. And it's like I know about like being an author, but this is a new role and responsibility of them owning and taking forth. So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
No, that is really awesome, and the fact that the two of you had never met before then. You guys had interacted, with the promotion of your book, and that's how you came to meet each other and cross paths. But the fact that you guys hadn't done anything since, and then come together to do this, um, who instilled? You said that somebody told you that you should turn this into a screenplay or an animated film.
Yes.
Um, where did you turn to, whether it be online, purchasing a book, YouTube, whatever the case may be? What was your first introduction to writing a screenplay?
For the screen, well, one thing that was already done was the book.
Mm.
And when I say the book, it was the manuscript of the book. So I knew that I wanted to take the words that was on the pages in the book and use a lot of that. So the first thing I turned to, I went straight to the book and I went straight to my manuscript and I said, okay, I already have the story told. What else could we add to it? So really, the storyline was written.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now we have additional lines and additional scenes that's added onto it there, and that's when Angela came in and she created more content. She created more content and more storyline. But the first thing was me turning to the book. I grabbed the book. Literally, it's telling the story. So you could actually, like, if you had the book in your hand, you can kind of flip through the pages and it's telling the story of the book with a little bit more like words and sentences that's in there.
Right. It still goes. It still goes along whether you're reading the screenplay or you're reading the book. Everything is still in that same order.
Right.
It's just that you had to add a little bit more for the film. Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Because it's animation and live action. So all the animation is directly from the book. But then the live action, we kind of surrounded it with some live action. So I kind of say it's kind of like Reading Rainbow meets
Mhm.
HBCU culture. If you look at Reading Rainbow, there's the book, but then there's real people around it, kind of talking and educating and having fun. And so really, that's where I came in and kind of helped create some of that storyline around it to really make it a true educational journey. And that's really what the book does. It's educational. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are doing some amazing content and a lot of amazing independent filmmakers, and they're putting out stuff for adults. But we're like, where is the content for our kids? And so that's
Right.
when Toya and I joined forces. I have a passion for HBCUs, and she does too. And as a 13-year educator, she has a passion for kids. And so we were able to really join forces and say, we're going to put some content out there for kids, because right now there's not a lot of us doing that. And we know a lot of our kids are spending a lot of times in front of screens. And so it's up to us to put some content out there that means something for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we move forward, Angela, I do want to ask you.
Mhm.
You said that you came from the world of stage plays and then you
Yes.
transitioned into writing screenplays. Um, what was the difference in the writing? And um, do you think you would ever go back to stage plays, or are you doing screenplays from now on?
So the question is, what is the difference? So there is a big difference. When you're writing stage plays, really everything takes place in one room, one or maybe two rooms, because that's all you have. You have that stage. And so you really have to center all the conversations around that one room. And there's a lot of, there may be a lot of monologues or big scenes and a lot of big acting, because when you're on that stage, there's nobody going to do that close up, right? So when I talk to my actors, because I'm also an acting coach, when you're on that stage, you have to make sure that the person at the top balcony, they understand everything that you're saying, that they feel you. So when it
Mhm.
comes, so you have to write those words that are passionate. When it comes for me for writing the screenplays, you have to take things a little bit smaller. You're breaking it up and you're putting things in different rooms. When I was translating my script from the script for the theater, I remember somebody was like, well, you talk about them going to the bedroom. Where's the scene in the bedroom? I'm like, well, on the stage we couldn't do a bedroom. I'm like, but this is film, so we can
Right.
actually go show the bedroom. We can do a scene in the bedroom now. So for me, that was a big part of it. Like, okay, now the world, I can show the whole world instead of telling the world from theater. I can write out the world and really then be able to show. So for me, that was a big difference, and it took a minute to break my mind from the 25 years of writing stage plays to say, okay, I'm going to write something that will be on the screen. So that was a big difference. And asking, will I ever go back to the theater? So I love the theater. For right now, I'm in this lane and I have to stay here because for
Hmm.
me, it's hard to go back between both brains and being able to make those transitions. So right now, I want to really master this. I still work in theater. Like on Sunday, I'm going up to Central State. Some students are doing a stage play up there, and they want me to come and be an acting coach, be a guest director for their rehearsal on Sunday. So I'm still going to keep my feet in the theater world. But I also just came from Wright State University, Tom Hanks School of Film, and I was with the film students there. So I'm going to keep my feet in both. But as far as my writing, right now, I know I can write stage plays. I've been there, done that, really love that. But
Uh-huh.
now I want to be able to love film as much, and I know it's going to take me a couple years in it to get as good as I was 25 years with doing theater.
Awesome, awesome. And I like the fact that I feel like you'll as you're honing your craft as a screenwriter, it'll only make you stronger as a stage playwriter, a playwright. And maybe you can also implement some of those things that you learn from screenwriting into your plays, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys have a film slash book, but a
Yes.
film called Brown Hands, Black Schools, HBCUs, or is it
Yes.
and
No,
HBCUs?
just HBCU.
HBCUs.
Okay, Brown Hands, Black Schools, HBCUs. Can you tell us what that is about?
Yes. So I'll just share a little bit. The reason I wrote the book was to educate kids about HBCUs at an early age. So I didn't learn about HBCUs until I was in high school. So that was the motivation right there. And then, as Angela already said, I was a teacher for 13 years. And year after year, I would say, ask my students, what's an HBCU? So that question constantly kept coming up every year with me asking students, and it was, I don't know. So the story Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs is the characters are my family members, Aria, Walter, to Maya, to my best friend. But it's about two characters, Aria and Walter, who goes to a HBCU campus, and as they're on campus, they are learning about the history of this HBCU, and they fall in love. They learn about the marching band. They learn that friends can turn into families. They're walking on a yard. They're learning new vocabulary words. And then once the little girl Aria, she comes back to present this to her classmates and tell them about HBCUs. She finds out her teacher went to HBCU as well. So now she's even more excited about HBCUs. So Brown Hands Black Schools is a film educating the youth about HBCUs. With the film, it also is a literacy twist to it as well. It talks about the science of reading. It talks about how kids should be reading on grade level and giving parents literacy activities and interventions that they can also be doing in the classroom. So overall, it's a HBCU and literacy type of feel to it. So yeah, it's educating, and not only the youth, like it's adults that can watch this, and it's informational. Like they can watch this and learn. I like Angela was putting things in the film that I didn't know that. Like I didn't know that this person created the super soaker. So even like for adults, so not only the youth, it's for everyone.
Right,
Right.
right.
And it's really,
And
and Toya said that the kids are visiting an HBCU, but they're not just visiting an HBCU. They're visiting an HBCU at homecoming. And we know that it is a major celebratory time amongst the HBCU culture. So it's really a fun book. and it's really exciting. And you do learn from watching the film. You learn about HBCU culture. Kids can get excited. Kids can see themselves. We're very intentional about putting out content that's going to make a difference. And I don't know if you know that. Again, I'm a little bit of a history nerd, and what your audience may not know is one of the very first films ever created in this country was a propaganda project. The propaganda project to create or show Black people as savages, and that was the very first birth of a nation. It was the very one of the very first films ever created in this country, and its
Right.
sole purpose was to stop the progress of Black people during the Reconstruction era, because we was doing great things. I mean, we had a U.S. senator 10 years out of slavery. We had a Black senator, but in order for them to stop that movement and stop that progress, they put out a film. So that should let you know the power of film, the power
Mhm.
of what we do, and the power of what we create. It can really mold the culture. It can mold how people view us. And so with us putting out Brown Hands, Black Schools, HBCUs into a film, we are trying to mold young people and let them see this is what you can be when you go to an HBCU. This is the fun you can have. This is how much you can learn. And these are the people that will become family, like, family to you. So it's really important. And I wanted to say that to your audience, because the stuff that we're putting out there, it really does shape the culture. And history tells us that films were made originally to shape the culture.
Mhm. I love the fact that you guys are creating something that is entertaining, but at the same time, you're sprinkling in the education, the
Always.
literacy factor,
Mm-hmm.
and also opening the kids' eyes and some adults' eyes to what it's like to go to an HBCU, what it's like to live that life. Work being at a historically Black college. Um, I think that that's an amazing thing, and sometimes it's difficult to digest when it's just educational or preachy.
Mhm.
But the fact that you guys are making it entertaining and just sprinkling that in there to where you can watch it and learn something, but not even realize that you're learning at the
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
same time.
Absolutely. And the cool part about it is it's not adults talking to kids. Our cast, our primary people in the cast are kids.
Hmm.
And so you have kids talking to kids. Kids pay more attention when they hear voices that are sounding like theirs. So that's
Right.
what's really cool about it, is that we've used kids in this project to talk to other kids, to entertain them. But like you said, slide in the educational piece as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And to that point, we need more of that. I can't tell you how many times in the educational system you go to turn on a video and it's something from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's not new, it's not modern, it doesn't keep the kids' attention. We need more projects like this. And so that actually leads to a question of mine, which is can you speak on the importance of making more educational based films for our Black and Brown youth? Um, I feel like that's an important thing, and we need more of that.
Absolutely. We definitely need more of that. So I have a 3-year-old son, and when I'm like searching on YouTube, I'm very intentional about like what he watches on YouTube or just on television in general. And there's not a lot of content, especially animation. Like this project is special for many different ways. One is it's just not a film of like live actions, but the animation part of this
Right.
film as well. But just telling the story of Black joy and having students and kids represented it in positive ways. There definitely need to be more content around Black and brown characters who's represented in positive ways so that kids can look up to them. As Angela said, this story, the primary characters are kids. And okay, like I said, I'm from Detroit, and in Detroit, it's starting to be the filmmaker world, and oftentimes I'm constantly seeing, and nothing is wrong with it, but I'm constantly seeing like films for adults. So even
Mhm.
like this weekend, on Saturday, from 2 to 4 o'clock at Bel Air Cinema Theater is our premiere. So kids are super excited to even attend a premiere because I had one child say, oh my god, I get to attend this premiere. Like I know that my mom, you always go to premieres, but I get to attend it this time. Yes, because it's for kids. So even giving them the opportunity attend these premieres, and you don't know what doors will open, not only for entertainment purposes, they might want to go into the animation world. If they
Exactly.
see me like creating this animation and they see the producers and filmmakers, that could open a whole new lane, because honestly, I've never was introduced to this filmmaker lane at all, or never knew any filmmaker. So it opens a wide variety of things that kids might want to do. So we talked about like, oh, you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, but you can be a filmmaker too.
Yes,
Right. You can.
absolutely.
You could be a filmmaker too.
And I think
So
it's really
it's definitely
important.
needed.
I think it's really important to answer your question. Like, she has a 3-year-old and I have a 13-year-old. And it's important to me that she has content out there that attracts her, made by people that look like us. I mean, there's a lot of content, some amazing, cool, very diverse content being put out there for that's R-rated or PG-13. But what do we have for our teenagers? Our teenagers, the ones that are the most impressionable right now, what are they viewing? And is it being put out by people that look like us and have their best interests in mind? So I really challenge all the screenwriters and filmmakers out there, dibble and dabble, try your hand at writing some content that kids can enjoy as well, because they need to see us on stage, on screen, in positive images. And
Mm-hmm.
and to be honest, there's funding out there. If you have the right stuff within your project, there is funding out there to help fund projects, especially when they're educational.
So I have questions for all of that, and we're going to get into it. And you spoke briefly about the fact that there's not too many black and brown kids or people, for that matter, that we know or that are highlighted or spotlighted, that are in the animation world. How important is it to you to provide that opportunity on this side of things, um, and be able to showcase that this is something that you can explore?
So you know what? That's one of the parts that I'm super like thrilled and excited about. Like, even though I know filmmakers and there's content that's like live action scenes, but I really don't know people who has an animation out. And I was sharing this with someone a couple of days ago. When you think about animation, like when I thought about animation, honestly, I just thought it was like, wow, like how is that possible? It seems big. It seems big. It seems expensive. Um, it seems like all of those different things, but it's something that you can get done. So having an animation out where characters, um, having black characters is, first of all, it'll draw students. I keep saying students. It would draw kids into wanting to
There's
watch
students,
this film
there's
just
students that,
by it being
yeah,
a black character,
right.
because you don't often see that, and you often see animation through like Disney or something like these big companies and corporation who put out animation. You really don't see like local filmmakers who's putting out animations like this. So for
Mhm.
me to bring this project to kids in different communities around the world, it's is dear to my heart, and this, like I said earlier, it's passionate work.
Definitely. Let me ask you both this, and I don't know if this was a conscious. Well, obviously, it had to be a conscious decision. But why animation and live action combined?
I think the animation, because the book is a cartoon book, and so that was a natural. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna. But I think the live action part came in is because we still also wanted to wrap some educational tools around it, and in order to do that, like I said, we kind of took a look at Reading Rainbow or Sesame Street or Electric Company, and all of those have the blend of live action and either puppetry or animation, and so that's a formula that works. So we knew that it would work for us as well. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so we feel like that is a formula that works in educating our children. And so we just ran with it.
And I'll just jump in also to share, and it makes it seem believable. It makes it seem believable for whoever's watching. Like, this is just not for cartoon characters. This is for you as well. So even like one page in the book, it's like when I think about this whole project, like it's everything that when I wrote the book, it almost like I was preparing myself for this, because one page illustration is in the book. It's the characters, and then there's real photos in the
Right.
book as well. So this is just kind of when I see this page, I really like, wow, like there's a character, and then there's real photos, and it's 2 years later, there's an animation of the same thing, the cartoon characters and real live action. So it makes kids think that this is believable. This is just not a cartoon character.
Right.
This is
And
real life as well.
and also, you probably didn't realize at the time of making it that, how powerful that was on the page and how that can relay on the screen as well.
Exactly. I did not. And I was honestly, it just kind of clicked. I mean, I know what's in the book, but when I was just like, my son had the book the other day, I was just like, like there's a character right here on the page and it's real life, real photos. And now the animation, it reflects just that. So it was like the plan was like, I've been writing this plan. This vision, it came to life, but it's been there. It's been there. And to bring it to life and for the world to see this project, we're super thrilled and excited.
Right.
Yes.
And the fact that you have the animated character that's explaining everything and walking you through the story, but then with the live action piece, you're able to see yourself. It's a self-reflection. When we don't really know how kids' minds interact with animation if they see themselves as the character, but when they see real people on the screen on top of the animation, it lets them know, like, oh, there's somebody that's just like me.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes. You get it. You got it. Yes.
You know it. Yeah.
I honestly, I love this concept and I love this idea for you guys, because as you're saying, the shows that you're mentioning, even though they are staples in our community and they're staples, we all grew up with Sesame Street and Reading Rainbow, but we don't have anything that's new, that is like that. And the fact that you guys are in that lane and tackling that is a very important thing to do. I don't know if you guys realize how big this is.
You know,
So
we
we
really do. Like we know, like we're ready. We are ready. I told Angela, I said, "Are you ready?" Because when
ready.
it's out there, it's going to take off. Because, like I said, I have a 3-year-old son, so I'm up on everything. I'm up on all the shows that's going on. I'm up on top of everything, all the content that's put out there, especially for characters who look like my son, for Black boys, for Black little girls,
Right.
and you're right. There's nothing like this right now.
No.
And the
No.
feedback that we've gotten so far, I felt like I knew it was a great thing because Toya's so dope. And that's like I said, that's why I slid in her DM, like, sis, what you need. But I really knew it, I guess, was it 2 months ago when Toya got invited to the White House HBCU event. And she was the only small business there because she had presented her concept. She pitched the concept to the White House initiative on HBCUs, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta have." And then she gets there, and she's the only small business. It's just her. She started this grassroots, but they're like, "Oh, you've got something, sis. You've got something big there." And so that's when I knew, like, oh, wait a minute. And now we're not gonna say no names, but we have a major corporation that has reached out to us. We have a meeting with them next week that says, "Hey, we want to put some more money behind this before you guys launch this to the world. Maybe we can do a tour of premieres." Like this corporation has come to Toya because they saw her, promoting what she's doing. So that's what's letting me know, like, her idea and her vision is so dope, because everybody that sees it or hears about it is like their ears perk up. And when you got people like trying to write checks to you to help you with your project, you're doing something right. And so I'm just honored that
Yeah.
she allowed me to be a part of what she's doing.
You're right on path. As soon as they open up that checkbook.
Right.
Yeah, in DC, honestly. So, like, as Angela just said, I was literally the only small business. Like the other companies were like federal government agencies,
Right.
Google, NASA, and I literally was the only small business there. And being honest, everyone was surrounding my table. It was
Yeah.
inviting, like the look of everything, and it stood out. Like seriously, I had like people around the table, and I had multiple people there helping me. I was like, okay, you tag this group, you get this group, you get that group. But everyone was surrounding our table, and everyone was just looking at this like, wow, you got the book, and this is the animation. Because a lot of people, we have kids. Like there's so many kids, there's so many youth. So there was like the U.S. Department of Education, school leaders, and it's for everybody. Like I said, I'm not going to, like, when people ask like what's the target age, I'm just like, I have a really hard time answering that question because I'm and there it could be, but I'm just like, it's so beneficial to everyone. But yeah, you just hit it on the nose, Angela. And I think, you know what? I knew it was dope too, but I think that's when I realized when I went to DC, it was like, whoa, like, wow, like this is about to take off fast. So that's what I told Angela. I hope you're ready.
Right.
Yes. Yes. You both need to be ready for real.
Well,
Exactly.
exactly. She has to sometimes calm me down because Angela, what she works, she's a hard work, and I'm so excited to even have her on the team because she gets things done. Even when I said like I had started this project in February and I was doing things, but when Angela came, like things got to rolling fast. Like, and I've been seeing this like one person working on a project and thinking they can handle multiple things. Like one is it doesn't work. Two, like if some people like flex, like okay, I did this project by myself, like that's not a flex. Like you need multiple people to on projects. You really do. And yeah, Angela, I gotta give it. I really have to give her flowers because her input and all of this and her work ethics, like the girl works.
Yeah.
She put
Yeah.
in work and she got it going.
But see, the thing is this, like, and I keep joking about me sliding up in Toya's DM, like, and I've never said this to her, so I'm saying it. This is exclusive. Like, I saw me in her. I'm like, oh, this
Really?
girl is grinding more than me. Like, she out here making it happen. Like, I was like, oh, she out here working. Like, I saw her as a young, energetic me. Like, oh, she's out here making it happen. Whatever I can do to support her, let me be what I needed when I was her age. And that's really was my motivation. Like, and I had to tell her one day, like, she was like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I had to tell her what I needed to hear. Like, look, you still have a job. You are still a mom. You still have other things to hold down. Your project is going to happen, but we're not going to let you go crazy in the process. So from
Yeah.
this time to this time, do this. I know the project is happening. What can I take off your hands right now? I'll do that email. I'll write the press release. You do this from this. And then at 3 o'clock, then you can look at your phone. Then you can look at your email. But until then, do this because you're not going to stress yourself out. Those are words I needed to hear. So I had to let her know that
Mm-hmm.
because she got this and she's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. Like, there was a situation where for something that was going to be a cost to us. And at first, well, cost to Toya, and she was like, man, I didn't want to pay this money. I didn't want to pay this money. But she was like, you know what, Angela, I'm just going to pay it. And I'm like, yes, Toya. I said, that's going to come back to you fourfold, tenfold, 1,000-fold. Do you know, was it the next day?
It was the next
The
day.
next day, we got an email and they were like, you good. You don't got to pay it. You know, it's a zero balance. You don't have to pay that. Yes, the next day.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, I could have easily been like, you know what, I'm not paying this. Like we move on, like we're moving on. It's not getting paid for. We cutting it off. We're not doing it. But I was just like, you know what, forget it. Let's just go for it. I'll get it back. Like I'm not even like I'm not tripping. I'll get it back. But because of things like that, and just taking a chance, like you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it out there because one, I want the message out there. Two, I mean, it's multiple reasons, but even saying yes or I will do it. Look at the blessing that came back out of it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. They were like, nope, you don't have
Absolutely.
to pay nothing. Never mind. That person is gone. You don't got to pay nothing. And I was like, I when Toya forwarded me an email, I was about to cry. I'm like, what? I'm like, wow. I'm like, the favor is on us. We're walking in favor. That's it. Like, we're doing
Yes.
the right thing. And when people see that you're doing the right thing, they want to help you. They want to write checks. They want to give you a zero balance on stuff. Like, people, when they see what you're doing and they see your passion and your work, because I'm not gonna ask nobody to work harder than what I'm willing to work, right?
Mhm.
And when they see that, they're gonna jump in and want to assist you, and that's what's been happening throughout this project.
And on the business side of things, I know you guys are walking in favor, two Black women coming together for
Yes.
a great cause,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also the business aspect to this. And on the business side of it, there's a lot of dollars. There's a lot of dollars here, a lot of money to be made. And which leads to a question that I have. Have the two of you, either of you, thought about the marketability of a project like this, whether it be film, TV, like TV shows, merch, licensing,
Merch.
the whole intellectual property behind this? There is a lot that you can do here.
Right. And so Merch Toya's got that down, but we have a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. with
Yeah.
and we're not going to say his name yet because he'll be coming out. We'll be, announcing our partnership with him very soon. But he is a very seasoned executive. I'll just say that he's a seasoned executive. He's been in this game for a very, very long time. And he's another person. He reached out. He reached out to Toya and said,
Wow.
I want to help you. And again, he's a seasoned veteran in this
Yeah.
game. We
Wow.
bow down to him and we'll be announcing our partnership as soon as everything is solidified. But he's going to help that business side of it. Because you're right, we're two Black women with the passion and with the energy, but we need that business acumen. And so to have somebody that's been probably 30 plus years in this industry to reach out to Toya and say, sis, I want to help you. We're having that meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. So yes, we're covered
Man.
fully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
God is good, man.
So so even with so when I first put the book out there, when I first became a self-published author, I was thinking like, you know what? I want some merch to go with this. So I already have merch. So Brown Hands Black Schools is my second children's book. I have my first children's book was Brown Hands White Sand, is educating kids about the importance of traveling, like traveling to the beach and literacy and reading and all of that. And with that book, I had like passport holders made, custom passport holders. I have like Brown Hands White Sand beach towels. I have Brown Hands White Sand bucket hats. I have Brown Hands Black Schools t-shirts, and I also have like the bucket hats to go along with that as well. But yeah, thinking of other merch to go along with this, because you're right. Honestly, when I first published the book, I've never had a business. I wasn't even thinking about the business side of it. I just wanted to publish a book for my students. This whole idea came in 2020.
Wow.
And
There's
I found myself a business owner real quick. I was like, oh, let me go to the LLC. Anything that I'm thinking, honestly, I may not know how to do it, but I'm figuring it out. I will figure some stuff out. But I really found myself like, okay, I'm a business owner. Like, this is a business, but I wasn't even viewing it that way.
just this idea, the brown hands is Brown Hands Black Schools,
Yes.
HBCU.
Yes.
But just the whole Brown Hands something is something within itself.
Absolutely.
You can have a whole slew of books, slew of TV shows, films, what have you, coloring books, toys.
Coloring books. I like that. We got to get a
Yes,
coloring book. Yeah.
everything. I think about this stuff all the time. I watch Shark Tank. I do all that stuff. So
Coloring books is
when
coming.
I tell you, you have a lot on your hands right now. You really do. So keep that in mind before you guys go into this meeting, because don't sell yourself short. There's a lot that you can do.
No, we're not selling nothing.
No, I'm not yet.
We're not selling. Somebody has already approached Toya and they wanted to buy her project. They wanted to own it. No, we're not selling nothing. No, absolutely not. No.
Licensing. Yes. That also leads me to another question. Are there funding, or is there funding? Let me rephrase that. Is there funding opportunities for films like yours on the educational side? And what I mean by that, are there educational grants, things of that nature, even on the government side? I don't know if that's part of the initiative when you went to the White House. Was it a government grant or something like that? Is there funding on the educational side for films like these?
You know what? Yes, there's a lot of funding. There's a lot of funding out. So even like to start this project, I received a grant, not even for this film. I received a grant for Brown Hands Literacy to host HBCU literacy events here in Cincinnati. And I hosted 2 events and I still had money left over from the grant. So I was like, let me pitch this idea and see if I could use some of this money to turn it into a film. So that's exactly what I did, because my whole mindset was like, okay, I did these HBCU events to give back to the community. But once these events is over with, they're over with. So I was thinking, I'm about to pitch this idea because I need to walk away from this grant and I need to have something needs to be mine. Like my name needs to be on something. And I have to have something. So I'm just like, I pitched it to them. Like I did 2 events. I want to do an animation because I knew that if I did this animation, this is mine forever. Those events are going to pass and go on. But these events this animation, this film is mine forever. But there is grants. Honestly, I really don't know if there's And I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's grants about for film and production, but this grant that I received was not for directly film. But there's even when I was at the White House, it was so many people. It's like, oh, our company, we give away these grants. So even if it's not a film grant, there's money out there that you can probably pitch for something else and use it for your project.
Right. As long as your project fits the parameters of the grant and you're like, okay, the grant says this and I can do this through film. I can get this message across through a film. And that's really what Toya did. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be talking literacy for Black and brown kids. I'm going to create a film, include my book as a part of it, and some literacy components, because there's some great components in there about literacy when we talk about that live action part, and you'll see it when it comes out. And that was because it helped us to meet that grant. But it still kept us in line with the brand of Brown Hands Black Schools, HBCUs. It wasn't like, oh, this is disconjointed. Toya is so talented as a writer and as an educator that she was able to say, this grant is for this, my film is here, and they make sense together. And that's really what it was.
So yeah, so even if it's like when you're looking for grants, you don't necessarily have to look for something that says like, oh, film grant or something, a project like that. It don't have to even have anything to do with film. But if there's grant of money out there, you can pitch it in a different way and do like a film project. So the grant, it had nothing to do with film. It was about literacy and HBCUs, books, bringing the communities together so the community can learn about HBCUs. And I pitched it in a way, it was like, film, it ties, like if a film goes with this book, it ties in hand. So I would encourage people to like search for grants. Like United Way have grants. Like I received a grant through like Hamilton County for just getting the books out there. So it takes care of the literacy piece, but it definitely does not necessarily have to be a film grant.
Right.
If you're educating kids through your film and you know how to, to respond to that grant accordingly, you can get the funding, because animation, as people have looked into, animation is not cheap. So it's easier to
No.
point the camera at some kids and do something than it is to have somebody actually do the animation. And that's why a
Right.
lot of people haven't done it, but it
Mm-hmm.
can be done. And like Toya said, when did you write this book, Toya?
21.
21. We 2 years later and we got a book and a film. I mean, come on. Come
Yeah,
on.
I wrote it. It went fast. Like honestly, it went super fast. Both books. I've sold over 10,000 copies.
What?
I
Wow.
did.
So
I've sold over 10,000 copies, and a lot of it came from nonprofit organizations, schools. Like I'm constantly doing like pop up events. Within the within 2 years, I have sold over 10,000 copies of the book. And just like Angela said, like I'm promoting, I'm pitching, I'm promoting, I'm putting myself out there. Because I'm just like, why not?
yes, go for it. Absolutely. Um, Also on the educational side, and this might seem a little political, but the fact that they are taking away Black and brown educational pieces from our education system, and they're removing it, they're trying to change it. They don't want our youth and the next generation to know about our history. This is another way to teach and to showcase, maybe not necessarily
No, you're
showcase,
right. You're right.
Yeah,
but
it's a
it's another
tool.
way, it's another tool that we can use. It's another way to educate our youth in the educational system and outside of the educational system, to where they can't stop it in the educational system, and get the message out there. And also, there's there's not a lot of people doing this, so you guys are at the forefront, and there's a lot of things that you can do here, and there's a lot of things that you can think about, and new ideas that you can, new ways to approach it.
Absolutely. So yeah, and it's
Absolutely.
not about being too political. You're right. I mean, Toya has said her mission is to make sure that we help Black and brown kids. When we take a look at the literacy numbers amongst the kids that look like us, there we have to do creative new things to make sure
Right.
that we can close that literacy gap. And we can't keep doing what we've been doing. And we know that this project is going to be a part of that solution, because we're inspiring kids to read. They're seeing themselves in the book and they're getting inspired to go to college. And in order to go to college, you have to learn how to read and write, So so we're
Absolutely.
telling them that, And so it's not too political because this is, I mean, we have to make sure that as they're taking our history out of schools, we have got to push it even that much harder within our communities.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes. What are your roles as producers in this project? I'm always curious to know because in different films, TV shows, different projects, the role of the producer might be different.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your roles as producers on this project?
I'll let Angela go first
Okay, I'll
because
go. So
okay,
Toya's the
yeah, go
executive
first. I
producer.
had to even look up these roles. Like I really had to look up the definition of like what is a producer, what is a director.
Uh-huh.
So Angela, the floor
Yeah,
is yours.
so Toya is the executive producer. This is her brainchild. She started this all. She had this project in the works when I came on board. So she is the executive producer. She's the main writer of the project. So the buck stops at her. All final decisions are hers to make. So as the executive producer, from what colors and what the background look, as we were meeting with the animator, like, nope, that's not what we want her to look like. Switch that up a little bit. So we were working as a team, but at the end of the day, I always, yielded to her when final decisions needed to be made because she is the executive producer. For me as the producer, I was just that second set of eyes when we're talking to the animators and meeting with the animator and she's showing us what she has done. And I'm saying, no, yes, let's change the wording here. Let's change the music here. We, cut that part out. So it was really about making those final decisions on the edits, what the look and feel, what the music was supposed to sound like, how long did we want it to be, how much of the balance between the animation and live action we worked together to put the cast together. I'm going to say these are the people, these are the kids, these are the voices. So all of that. Then even the stuff like press releases and working with possible sponsors and different things like that. So that was really we kind of both took those mantles as her as the executive producer and myself as a producer. As also as a producer, I'm helping to promote. Like this is our third
Yeah.
interview, virtual interview, because we're working on promoting these premieres that we have coming up. So it's just really whatever needs to be done. And whatever I need to tell her to stop doing so she can not drive herself crazy and take care of that baby or do what she has to do. And then you just kind of get in where you fit in and we work together as a team. So hopefully that answered your question,
You
but
nailed
just
it.
her making the final decisions, but her also saying, Angela, I don't really know what to do right here. And me picking up the phone and calling up resources, whether it's additional editors or new movie people. We had to do our research to make sure that we were historically accurate when talking about HBCUs because we're not putting no wrong information out there. Making
Right.
those phone calls to Cheney University because they were the first and saying, hey, Cheney, can you send us some footage? Can you send us the pictures? Because we can just go and find some pictures, but we want to present your university the way you want us to. I'm
Mm.
working with other universities and say, hey, we want music. We want authentic HBCU band music and reaching out to those bands and saying, can you send us some music that we can use in our film? So really I did a lot of that as a producer and let Toya take care of a lot of that top line stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. To be able to bring all of that together, all of the HBCU culture
Yes.
together. That's pretty awesome. What are some important takeaways that you've learned from making this film?
Wow. That is definitely for me, it's and being new to this, it's work. Like it's work. So a takeaway is when you see films, like you often just see the final product.
Hmm.
And behind the scenes of these films are people, filmmakers, directors, the cast is putting in work. So a takeaway for me for this whole project is one of how much work it really takes to be a filmmaker. Another takeaway is like the funding piece of how expensive it is. And then the other takeaway is that the last takeaway for me is you have to be passionate about the project. If you're not passionate about the work, a project that you're putting out, you may not want to put your best foot into this. Like you may not want to put all your effort into it. So one, it has to be passionate work. You can't just put something out there and there's other people ideas and tell people telling you to switch this, switch this. You have to be passionate about the work that you're putting out. You do have to like ahead of time make sure you have the funding to because you can start a project and not get it finished or it could take a long time. So just putting it out there, hey, do I have enough funding for this? Or what are some different ways to actually come up with a plan?
Right.
But
Right.
overall, yeah, for me, it was just like, wow, it was a lot of work put into it. But when you see the final product, like I cried. Like I really like once I saw the final product, I was just like, wow, like all that work, it paid off.
I think for me, I did learn a lot. This isn't my first project. As I mentioned, I did 4 mini documentaries. But for
Mhm.
me, what I did learn was you put in the work and things will happen for you. I also learned that when you're working with, like, whether it's editors or the music people or whatever, that you can't be afraid to say, this isn't good enough for what I want right now. Like, I
Oh
used
yeah.
to be afraid, because I used to be afraid, even if you're paying the people, you're paying the animator. I used to be afraid to be like, well, she's done it 3 times already. Do we really want to send it back and have
Yeah.
her still fix it? Like, I used to be afraid to try to push people, because we
Mhm.
have a standard, but I was like, well, I don't want to push people too much. And to be able to say no, because Toya, there was this part in it that was a little off. And we had gotten numb to it. And I'm like, Toya, we're going to cringe every time we see this if we just let this go.
Right.
No, we need to send it back and say, fix it, or we need to reshoot this. And we had to be okay to
Yeah.
say, we got to reshoot this, because we're going to cringe every time we see this if we don't fix it. And so that's really what I learned, because it took us too long to make that decision, because we
That's
kind of had
true.
gotten a little tired. Not, we got a little tired, and I was like, okay, we got to do this again. No, Toya, I know you had to drive from Cincinnati to Detroit to shoot this again, but you got to drive from Cincinnati to Detroit to shoot this scene again. And I think that I learned that I'm never going to take that long to make those decisions, because it's the right
Mm,
decision to make. And there's no workaround for excellence. You got to do what needs to be done to be excellent. There's no workarounds for that.
I
So
love that.
that is a big part of what I learned. I'm not hesitating to make sure that the bar is raised and that the standard is met on every piece of the project.
I love that. And even at the end with the animator, like she sent us like the final version. We looked at it like, nope, let's send it back. Can you change this? I mean, it was literally like 5 times that she sent it to us. We saw something else. Oh, send it back. Can you change this? And we did. So Angela, she was good. Like, we gotta send this back. We gotta send this back. We gotta send it to the final version came out that we was, because one thing for sure, if you're putting something out there with your name on it, you better love it. Because I know
Mm-hmm.
for myself and I know for Angela, I'm not putting anything out that I don't love and that's not quality work. You have to remember your name is on this project. That's a representation of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we just owe it to we owe it to the audience, we owe it to the babies, we owe it to the kids, for them to be able to look at what we've put out for them and be proud of that. We owe it to them for when them to see Lil Walter and Lil Riley talking in the live actions, to say, I want to be in that next time, I want to do that. So we owe the excellence to the audience. I strongly believe that.
Absolutely. And you guys are creating it for the audience. In a way, when we create, we're also serving. And so we have to be on the side of serving and make sure that what we deliver is accurate and on
Absolutely.
point and as good as quality as you can get it, with what you have.
Right.
Um,
With what you have, yeah, and because there's still some things that we would definitely do differently next time, because there will be a next time. There are some things that we will do definitely on the
Most
front end that'll
definitely.
move the project even faster than it went, because we know that there
Mhm.
are people who are putting out amazing work and it takes them way longer than 2 years to go from book to film, right?
Right.
But there's definitely some things, and definitely people that we know, who we would work with in a minute. Okay, we waited too long to call in this photographer. We should have called him from day one. Or we waited too long to use this. We should have called that person from day one. So there's definitely things that we are going to do different on the next project. But we are proud of this one. Like, we're happy.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Let me ask you, I have a few more questions for you both. Can we talk a little bit about the cast? And that's on in front of the camera and also the voice actors for the animators.
Sure. So originally starting this project, that was my first thing. Like, who are the cast members going to be? So
Mhm.
I looked at my family. I looked at the kids in my family. Walter's 9 years old, and he's my nephew. And from birth, he was talking and reading and all of this, and he has like this animated voice, and he's like excited about everything. And he's never been to acting school. He's never been to acting class, but even Angela, like she was right there, like, okay, he need to make sure he's sitting up like this. He need to project his voice. He need to be sitting this way. So the cast members of who was actually on screen is, I'll just share for me, the Angela can talk about her amazing daughter, but it's Walter's like, he's a narrator. He's my nephew. Skylar, as Skylar, she goes to acting school, but she's my cousin and she's amazing. But and then we have like my sister plays, it's like my sister, my cousins, it's really family members. But one thing about this project that I want kids to see, like, you don't have to be this top-notch actor, you don't have to be this top-notch actress to play these roles, because these kids, I literally, and we did, was like, we took them where they were at and we provided coaching and training around how the voiceover should look, and even in person for the live action thing. So for myself, it was family, and then Angela came in with her amazing daughter, who just really just popped everything and made it honestly brilliant. Angela, would you like to speak about Riley?
Yeah. Right. So my daughter, Riley Davis, remember her name, y'all. If y'all need her in y'all project, let me know. She's a trained actress. Has been acting since she was like 3 years old. She came out of the theater world. And so that, if you see theater actors, she's used to standing on stage flat footed. Like she played Ruby Bridges at 6 years old and killed it. So she's very, oh yeah, she played Ruby. She played the fifth little girl. You hear about the four little girls that were bombed in Birmingham, Alabama. There was a fifth little girl that was a survivor. And so she played the fifth little girl, did amazing. And so, but she's also been doing a lot of work for our local PBS affiliate. So she does a lot of work with PBS kids. So I was used to being in that educational lane. I was seeing how they were doing it. I was soaking up, like I'm there all the time with her tapings for PBS kids, like, okay,
Right.
okay, I'm learning. I was learning from them so that I could bring that to my girl. And I didn't know at the time that I would use what I was seeing, how she was doing work with PBS, because she's done voiceovers for PBS. She's done, educational pieces for PBS here. And so learning that and then realizing that I can transfer that skill into helping my girl with her project has been amazing. So yes, Riley is a part of Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs, and you'll know exactly who she is when she pop up on the screen. You're like, oh, that's Riley. But she had a great time doing it. She was at her first HBCU homecoming at 7 months old. And so now it's this full circle for her to be 13 years old and being a part of a nationwide project that is going to be promoting HBCUs to kids that look just like her.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, so she's I mean, I don't want to toot her on, but she's a great kid and she loves being a part of this project. Like I said, she's been doing a lot of work for other folk. So for her to be able to do a project, a film project, that shouts out HBCUs and be working with her mom, she's had fun.
Okay. So I know the film's not out yet, but what's next for the film? What's the next step? And I know you both mentioned that you have a meeting tomorrow, and I'm sure there's going to be many more meetings to come before the film is released. But what in your minds is next for the film at this stage?
Well, right now we have premieres.
Yes. We have
so
two
right
premieres.
Now we have 2 premieres in the works. Detroit is this weekend. November 11th at Bel Air Cinema Theater from 2 to 4. So if you can come out, it would be awesome to have people there. And then we're taking it home. We're taking it home to the Central State University. And that one feels good. Like taking it home to Detroit, that's awesome. It's great. It's a lot of family and friends who's coming to support. But the one at Central State, after all, this book was dedicated to Central State, but not only to Central State, for just HBCUs in general. So the Central State one is coming up. Angee, do you want to speak a little bit about Central State?
So yes, we are having that December 2nd at Central State University, and that is a free event. We've gotten, we got somebody that said, we got you on the bill, so we're able to do the Central State one for free, and that is December 2nd. It's a Saturday from 2 to 4. We in the process of inviting people. Like I had a lady from Texas today reach out to me and said, please give me information on the premiere because I want to come. And I was about to cry. Like, oh my, the support is amazing. And so we have the 2 premieres, the red carpet premiere. We've got some educational folks coming out. We're definitely inviting some superintendents, some educators, because we know that 50% of Black educators actually come out of HBCUs. And amongst our public schools, 50% of Black educators are HBCU alumni within our public schools. So we know that they're going to jump all over this. So we've invited some educators, we've invited the community as well. So after the 2 premieres, the plan is, and I'm going to say this because it might change because, God, here's our plans
Yeah.
and she starts laughing. But because the initial plan was to do the 2 premieres, possibly do another premiere in Cincinnati, but then to launch the actual film to the world February 1st for Black History Month. That is the initial plan. But and we're going to put it on a streaming service. We have at least 2 streaming services that are asking for it. So we're in negotiations right now with this. But we have the corporate sponsor that says, well, wait a minute, maybe we want to sponsor you all to take this to other HBCUs before you launch it to the world. So that's another meeting for next week. So depending on how that goes, we may be still releasing it on February 1st, or we may be starting the HBCU tour, premiering it, doing private showings at HBCUs in February. We don't know, but we know we're gonna keep moving forward. Every day we're stepping forward, and so if we have somebody coming along and saying, "Okay, here's another path," and we're gonna talk, and if it makes sense, that's what we'll do. But so really, that's the plan for Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs, is to do the 2 premieres, and then to launch it in February. And it may be exclusively on one platform in February, and then release it to another later. But again, we're in negotiations, so we're definitely keeping a business mindset. I've worked in corporate for 30 years. So as much as I love the creative side, I'm definitely not
Right.
skimping on the creative side. That's why I told Toya, because I've told her a couple times, and I don't have to tell her no more. I'm like, Toya, and she was like, well, this person wants this and this. I said, well, Toya, how are you going to make money? I said, if it's not you making money, then no. And I said that a couple of times. I'm like, Toya, but where's the money at when it comes to that? So now she's realizing, like, okay, you're right. People are coming at me asking for my project, but we've got to make sure that it makes dollars and cents. And that's where we are right now.
Right. And I think it's a good idea to do a HBCU tour, because it falls in line with it's on brand. It falls in line with, it's part of the title of the film, part of the title of the book. And I would not be surprised if every HBCU comes on board at some point. It may not be in the initial phase, but at some point you might want to have either a premiere or just a showing at an
Yeah.
HBCU. You just go around to every HBCU, and when you're at that particular location, you can let that community know, hey, bring your kids out. This is a good. This is a, it's that gateway, and you're actually introducing the kids by watching it, but they're also going to that HBCU to watch it.
Yeah.
So they're walking right on into.
Yes.
I think that's brilliant. Honestly, that's good marketing. It's on brand. It's perfect.
So we really want to have the impact, and this is a lofty goal, but I'm going to say it because I'm going to speak it. The impact that A Different World had on HBCUs and really increasing that enrollment, like 33%, increasing that enrollment because high school students were so tuned in. We're hoping to start that pipeline even sooner with Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs, with elementary school kids saying, I want to learn more and I want to go to an HBCU. So really that's the goal. We want to have that kind of impact. And again, I know that's lofty, but
No,
it's possible.
no, it's.
yeah.
I think it works. I
Yeah.
do.
And I could see this being a pilot, like the pilot show. I could see more episodes. I could definitely see it being more.
Yes, you can do so much with
I
this.
know. My brain is
So
like,
I could talk to you ladies all night because I love what you're doing. I love the path that you're going down. I'm I'm personally going to pray that everything works
Thank
out for
you.
you guys,
We
especially
will.
tomorrow when you have that meeting. But I also am certain that this is not going to be the end all be all. You guys are you're well on your way. One thing that I always end with is a final word, whether it be a quote, a piece of advice, or words of encouragement. So, if you could, each of you give one of the three. Anything that's a piece of advice that you've been given, a quote that you like to live by, or words of encouragement to the audience that's listening that might want to get into a field like this.
I'll just say some advice. If you have a vision or a goal or a dream of something that's in your heart that you've been wanting to do and you just have not put any action behind it, it's going to stay a vision, it's going to stay a dream if you don't put action behind whatever it is that you said you're going to do. You don't have to necessarily have the money right there, the resources, but start. The main thing is to start.
Mm, absolutely.
Got you. So there's so many like amazing things I want to say right now. Like I want to be Maya Angelou. I want to be poetic. But what keeps pressing on me right now is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's all I have right now is I can do all things. And that's what I believe. I can do all things. And so I want to encourage people to know that you can do all things. Just keep
Mm-hmm.
going.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, LaToya Turner, Angela Davis, thank you for joining the Black Script Conversations. I truly appreciate your time. I am rooting from you from the sidelines. I expect to see um, brown hands, black schools, HBCUs on TVs and tablets and phones everywhere, and on the big screen,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and on T-shirts, on
Yep, yep.
coloring books, more new books, a series, So
Mm-hmm.
I applaud you, ladies, and we need more people in this industry like you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for
Thank you so
having us.
much.